for having me. I see a lot of electrification and heat pump experts in the room, so I might have to adjust my presentation in real time. I'm a senior campaign rep manager at Sierra Club. I direct our building electrification campaign based in Oakland. It's a California-wide campaign, and we're starting to plan to expand it to some target states across the US. But for today, I'll just focus on California. I actually used to work here at the Energy Foundation for about 6 years back in the day, doing philanthropy on energy efficiency and fighting coal plants. That's how I got introduced to Sierra Club. Then I went to grad school at UC Berkeley at the Public Policy Program and the Energy Resources Group.
Sorry, I didn't anticipate this.
That's okay.
Can you see what's out there?
I don't see anyone out here.
Someone not me?
I think it's sounds like
It's either right below us, I think.
floor below. 'Cause I can feel it
You can feel it in the floor.
Yeah.
in the floor. Is that LA?
That's a Google image. No, I'm not sure. I don't remember where that is actually. I just grabbed something from my desktop. That's a good question. I should know that.
It is.
You think it's LA?
Yeah.
Okay.
With those
Thank
snow.
you. It's Google.
I grabbed it recently too.
Okay, it's a nice picture. So maybe I'll just say a little bit about me, what brought me to the work. This is my son and I, Aiden. He's about almost 3. And we like to spend our weekends visiting heat pumps and drawing paintings of California's emissions. So for those of you who know Pierre Delforge, this is his CO2 heat pump. And yeah, the other day I took the day off and we did some painting, and I thought that looked a little bit like, a circle, so I made it into California's GHG emissions. So, a quarter of which come from buildings. So anyway, what brought me to the work is obviously, like many of you, a real concern about climate change, that we need to be acting way faster and thinking way bolder than we are today. And also just the fact that we're not doing enough on buildings. There's a ton of work, and we need more work, obviously, on the electricity side and on the transportation side, but I feel that buildings, and particularly gas use in buildings, has really flown under the radar. And there's not the ambitious policies that we need to achieve our climate goals and to meet climate science. So that's why I decided to focus my work on getting gas out of our homes and buildings. So I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of the benefits of electrification. So it's pretty high level. If folks are like, oh gosh, I live and breathe in this world, give me a sign, we'll go a little faster. And then talk about the technology, but maybe we don't even need to do that, and then dig into some of the policy stuff. And then other Rachel is going to take it away with some real life examples in Sonoma County. So maybe just sort of a show of hands, like, who is a heat pump? Okay, and who? Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, thank you. Okay. And like, who's already working on building electrification? All right.
Citizen kind of way.
All right, cool. Well, then I need to go real fast through these beginning slides. But you can just give me feedback and like if I get it wrong or not. Okay, so this is my little case for electrification. We'll go quickly. So first, obviously, the climate. Right? For us to achieve our climate goals, we need to get gas out of the economy. We need to have zero emissions by 2045. This is where we are in buildings today. Panama from the Building Decarb Coalition made this great slide. We need to reduce our emissions in buildings by 20% by 2025. Going down to 40% by 2030, and eventually hitting zero. And efficiency is not going to get us there. Just electrifying the grid is not going to get us there. So we need to start replacing gas appliances in our homes and buildings to get to zero emissions. So electrification is a key way to get to zero emission buildings. So obviously climate is a major motivator. And then the second, we don't really talk about this enough, I think it's really health and air pollution. So 90% of Californians live in counties that don't comply with federal or state air quality standards. It's a significant issue in California, worse air quality in the state. And gas use in our homes and buildings from our gas appliances produce 9 times more NOx emissions than all of our power plants in California. And if you think about it, our power plants, which we need to get rid of, but they have pollution controls, right? All the appliances in our homes do not have any pollution controls. The best they have is venting. So it's producing a ton of NOx emissions both inside the house and outside the house, and it needs to be a measure that we, a consideration when we think about, air quality mitigation. And then, so it's not just outdoor air pollution. I mean, obviously NOx leads to ozone and contributes to asthma, respiratory distress. So it's very significant. There's also the indoor air pollution issue, right, which I think has motivated some people here today around getting reduction. So our gas appliances, recirculating stoves, produce carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, formaldehydes. It's super toxic, it's invisible. Our carbon monoxide alarms are not picking it up because it's low levels. So the air pollution issue is really important. There's an LBNL study that shows that looked at homes with gas stoves, and of the homes that they studied with gas stoves, 50 to 70% of those homes would be illegal if found outside. They wouldn't comply with EPA's air quality standards. So this is a significant issue, especially in smaller homes and smaller apartments, especially in those apartments that have really good energy efficiency, right? So we need to be thinking about and bringing in this indoor air pollution angle, because I think that there's leverage points that we're not looking at, like at the air districts or at CARB, the Air Resources Board. And then, the question always comes up around, all right, I get it, climate, health, air pollution, but what about the economics? So there's a lot of reports out there in economics. Synapse, NRDC have a great report for California, RMI, Rocky Mountain Institute, E3, the building codes, the statewide codes group, what's it called? Statewide.
Title 24.
Yeah, the Title 24 utilities have cost effectiveness studies. So there's a lot of studies out there, and let me present some of the summary findings. So first of all, for all new construction, if you build all electric, you can save about $6,000 in construction costs. Sorry that I'm screaming, just back there. Okay. And we save about $6,000 in construction costs, right? Because we're not building out gas pipelines. We're not building out all that gas infrastructure. So that's really important to remember, that if we're going to build all electric, it's going to be lower cost new construction and also faster construction. So this is a key link to the whole housing affordability crisis in California. And then the second, California has extremely high electricity rates, right? Some of the highest in the nation. But because of the high efficiency of these appliances and some of the electric tariffs you can get on, you can really save it. So one of the studies shows that you can save up to $10,000 in utility bills over 20 years.
So that's your answer.
And then once you add on rooftop solar, that's an additional about $500 a year. So done right, electrification will lower your bills. And I think that's a key message to get across, because the gas industry is really pounding hard on the opposite message. And then last, yes, we do have really high electricity rates in California, but gas rates are going up. So PG&E and SoCalGas, in their rate case at the PUC, they basically have requested 24 to 40% rate hike for gas by 2022. So gas rates are going up. This is all safety upgrades they need to do after San Bruno and Aliso and other events that have happened. So as they have to do these safety upgrades, gas rates are going up. People are going to start to leave the system. I don't know if folks have seen the E3 presentation, the Future of Gas presentation. It's fantastic from the CEC. We can share that later. But E3's analysis basically shows that as more folks start to leave the system, obviously fewer folks are going to cover the fixed cost of gas. Gas rates continue to go up, people continue to leave, gas rates keep going up. So we're looking at a situation where there's really going to be economic electrification. But the question is, economic for whom, right? And it can't just be affluent folks who are electrifying. We need to make sure that low-income folks or renters can also electrify. So that's the economics sort of from the ratepayer perspective. And then this is a slide from the E3 Future of Gas report. So this is the preliminary results. Their E3's report is going to come out this fall. It's commissioned by the CEC, so you can get on their website. But basically it shows that if we do nothing, if we keep expanding gas, the gas revenue requirement is going to go up significantly out to 2050. Whereas if the red line, if we start electrifying today and we start retiring parts of the distribution system, like we start pruning the tree of the gas distribution system, we can save billions of dollars for gas ratepayers. So it's significant. We need to start both electrifying and also figuring out where in the gas system we can retire and electrify entire communities to lower costs for all ratepayers. So again, this E3 Future of Gas report is really great. I recommend people look it up and review it. So leaving the economics aside, there's also obviously the public safety issue, right? San Bruno explosion 2010, we had the recent Lisa, we had recent fires in San Francisco. The gas system is inherently risky, leaky, it's aging, and it's also really vulnerable to climate change, right? So as we have more flooding and sea level rise and erosion, pipes are going to be more vulnerable to accidents from that, and then also really vulnerable to earthquakes. So this is a really out of focus map of California where we have the largest hazards from earthquakes, and you can see all along the coast we are high risk of earthquakes. And so when the ground shakes, that's going to shake the pipes and cause leakage and fires. So around 50% of fires after earthquakes come from gas leaks. So if we're worried about earthquakes, we also need to start getting rid of our gas. And then the last, or one of the last, is this climate resiliency, right? So if you have, temperatures are rising, summers are getting hotter and longer, and if you have a heat pump space heater in your house, you can also have a heat pump cooler, right? You can have AC in your house. So for all the homes that don't have AC, now you can have air conditioning to help you out in the summer months. So it's also a climate resiliency strategy, whereas obviously your gas furnace can't provide any cooling. And then the last benefit I wanted to talk about before we get into the other aspects is just getting polluters out of politics. So this is a big thing at Sierra Club, right? We're really concerned about the political pressure and lobbying capabilities of fossil fuel companies and how they have weakened climate policies and clean energy policies. And what we've done some digging, and what we've found is that if you look at the gas industry, they actually have a very, very precarious business model. Where the gas industry is a very precarious business model, a very fragile business model.
1 second.
Yeah.
What do you do here? I called the security, and they're supposed to talk to these folks. Or maybe, I don't know.
You gonna knock back in?
Can you please keep it down? We have an event up here.
Sounds like you're moving that way,
Sounds like one of those New York apartments. Hey, I'm talking to you!
Sorry.
Jeez.
This is nothing compared to my toddler, so it's all good. So basically,
You think you got it all covered, and then, something shows up.
yeah, all good. So basically, buildings only consume about a third of the gas from a third of the gas that goes to the pipes goes to buildings, a third to industry, and a third to utilities or power plants. So even though buildings only consume about a third of the gas, they're actually responsible for 85% of the revenue that gas utilities or gas companies receive. So it's huge. So as we begin to electrify buildings, we can have an outsized impact on the revenue that gas companies receive. So this is why, a lot of folks are into electrification because they're into energy efficiency or climate, but also if you're interested in corporate accountability and getting polluters out of politics, it's another reason to think about electrification, because it's a real way to hit the bottom line of the gas companies. So I just wanted to bring that into the conversation too. All right, let's shift a little bit to technology. That's sort of like the benefits that I see of electrification. I'm sure I'm missing a lot, especially renewable integration and all those issues we can get into. So you all know this. This is a common pie chart. This is how California homes use gas. Over 80% of us use gas. Over 80% of the gas use in our homes is for water heating and space heating. Very small for cooking and clothes drying. And for all of these gas end uses and activities that use gas, they're super efficient, advanced electric appliances. So it's not like we're pushing for something that doesn't have the technology available, right? So we keep on water heaters, dryers, space heaters, induction stoves, convection ovens, electric fireplaces. It's all there. We can dig into those technologies. And of course, these can be 3 to 5 times more efficient than the most efficient gas alternative. So it's definitely a way to save energy and GHGs at the same time. These are just sort of how heat pumps work. Seems like you're all pretty familiar with heat pumps, right? We all have them in our homes, in our refrigerators, but it's the same concept that actually can work inside of a water heater or a space heater or a clothes dryer. Basically, for a water heater, it's going to pull warmth from the ambient air, condense it, increase that temperature, and then pump it through the condenser coils that will transfer the heat either to the tank or to your home. You all can explain it in a much more technical way, which is, we can do that too. And then for induction, and then obviously it can happen in reverse. And then for induction, it's magnetic, right? So it will actually just heat your pan, and it won't heat up the whole surface area of your stove. So it's also important for climate resiliency, because you won't be heating your entire house the way you would with a gas stove. And Tom has an awesome fact sheet on induction cooking. And then this is not like a new technology that's never been seen. There's all electric homes all around the Bay Area. There's electric multifamily, electric restaurants, electric commercial buildings. So I wanted to get some of Scott Shell's slides, but I didn't get them in time. But Scott Shell has this amazing presentation of like 50 different electric buildings throughout the Bay. So it's happening all over. It's not just in the Bay Area. It's in Southern California. It's all over Japan, all over Europe. This is one area where California is actually a laggard. So the technology is there, and it's getting better. And then I quickly want to touch on some of the policy landscapes and the opportunities. So first is like our current policy framework is incredibly biased in favor of gas, and probably most people realize this already in the room. So Title 24, our building code, it favors gas and new design. We made some progress in the last building code cycle, so it doesn't do that anymore for low-rise residential, but still for mid-rise, high-rise residential and commercial, it's biased in favor of gas. So this is like not aligned at all with our climate policy. So it's something we all need to work on is Title 24. The second is that all the energy efficiency incentives out of the PUC, they don't allow for fuel switching. There's something called a three-pronged fuel substitution test, which a lot of us in this room and elsewhere have been challenging. Utilities cannot give, IOUs cannot give funding, even if it lowers energy use, if it's incentivizing the ratepayer to switch from gas to electric or electric to gas. So that's a key barrier to making electrification affordable that we need to overcome. And then our electricity and gas rates, they don't reflect GHGs the grid needs. So we need to do massive rate reform to make electrification affordable and to make it reflect the grid, so we use our appliances when it actually is needed. So it reflects the duck curve. So that's like some of the policies that we're up against that's just leading to more and more lock-in of gas. And then this is sort of how I've been thinking about the policy changes that we need. Yeah.
You want questions now or later?
Go for it.
So, the previous slide, are the Sierra Club or NRDC working on getting the CEC to change some of their policies on electrification and look at emissions instead of cost effectiveness?
Yeah, so at the CEC, like mostly for Title 24, NRDC, Sierra Club, lots of groups are engaged in the Title 24 process to change their metrics for how we're doing code compliance. So right now, both on the 2019 code for the performance path, that's being revised, and then also for the 2022 code, which is going to be coming up, which is like the new code cycle, we're working on that too. So, but definitely having more, I think the gas industry is going to be a lot more involved this year. Having more groups, like individuals, and also like institutions, organizations involved would be very helpful.
And just informational, there's going to be a new version of the three-prong test. Draft is going to come out really soon.
Is it really good? Okay.
I think within the next month, so look for that and for comments.
Great. Okay. We had talked to the commissioner's advisor. I wasn't sure if she was just passing us off by saying it was coming out. Okay.
It is.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Rachel? Can these slides be made available to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, and Rachel, Kate, use yours too? Can we send, okay, the slides will be posted on our website, so you don't have to take photographs. Okay.
Cool. So quickly, this is how we're thinking about, like, obviously we need to like really scale electrification, right? It needs to be like a massive change that happens, not just one-off people in North Berkeley or wherever are doing this. So we're thinking about this in a few different ways. Like one is just mandates. So for all electric new construction, if we can get that. So we can probably get that maybe, Berkeley's considering a mandate. We can do that at the city level. And then at the state level, it's not going to be a mandate for a really long time. So we're just going to work with the metrics and tweak it so it can favor electrification. But we need stronger codes to require this. It can't just be incentives. So all electric new construction, so building code work, both at the city and state level. And the second is applying to emission standards. So that's really to get at existing buildings, right? Which is a huge part of the problem. How do we get existing buildings to electrify? So if we can, we haven't really begun this work yet, but it's very much of interest. We can work with the air quality districts and CARB to tighten NOx standards on gas appliances that can might be one way to create a pathway towards these zero emission buildings. If anyone wants to work on that or talk about that, that's like a future thing we want to do. And then the second is just making electrification more affordable. So that's new incentives, hopefully through the three-pronged test and rate reform. And then the third bucket we think about is just equity, making sure this transition is equitable and can support a growing workforce and also prioritizes low-income residents and renters, so they're not the last to electrify and so they don't bear the cost of the gas system. So these are the kind of the three buckets that we've been thinking about it in, but there's a lot of different ways to slice it. I just want to share some quick progress we've seen on electrification. NRDC's played a huge role, especially in the top two, really in all of these. Student Club's been helpful, a lot of other groups, Sonoma Clean Power, a lot of the unis and CCAs, and also all the engineers and green architects who've been involved have been really great in moving this forward. So last year, AB 3232 passed. It basically tells the Energy Commission to study the feasibility of a 40% reduction in the building sector by 2030. Initially, the bill was supposed to be a mandate, supposed to be a target, but it got weakened. Makes sense. So now, basically, this year at the Energy Commission, through the Integrated Energy Policy Report, we'll be doing this study, and they want stakeholder engagement to look at what does this decarbonization pathway look like. And if we can get a good study out of the CEC, that could set us up for an executive order or legislation, next year. So that's a really important piece. And the second thing that passed last year was SB 1477. So that provides $200 million in incentive funding that the PUC has created a proceeding around for low emissions buildings and equipment. And there's a carve out for low income within that. It's both for new construction and existing buildings. So they're giving out $50 million a year over 4 years. That's all the PUC. So that's a super exciting docket. And then the third, we talked about the Title 24, the Energy Code. Made some progress last year, a lot more to do in the 2022 code cycle to remove the gas bias and start to push for electrification. And then the fourth thing that's just really exciting is this work in the San Joaquin Valley. And this actually stems from legislation from a few years ago. Basically, in December, the CPUC awarded $50 million of incentive program funding for utilities and third parties to do electrification projects for very low-income homes across 11 disadvantaged communities in the valley. So these are homes that don't have any gas. They mostly use propane and wood for heating. It's extremely expensive. It's not very reliable. People are not warm enough because it's so expensive. And so what this proceeding is doing is basically saying, what if we improve the efficiency, weatherize, and bring heat pumps and induction stoves to all these low-income homes? What is that going to look like? And what kind of money are they going to save in their utility bills? And what are the non-energy benefits of that? So this pilot is going to, the pilot's being designed right now, and it'll provide some really interesting information for how we can scale that into a larger program. So that's exciting and an ongoing piece of work. To celebrate some of the awesome things that are happening right now in California. So like SMUD, Sacramento Municipal Utility District, if you look at in Sacramento, you can get about $16,000 in the utility to electrify your house. It's pretty awesome. And they're like constantly thinking new programs and new things they can do. So like the staff at SMUD has been like amazing to work with and really at the leading edge. Sonoma Clean Power, Rachel's here to talk about their work, obviously incredible work around rebuilding after the fires and education and outreach. We'll talk about that in a second. I hope I have that number right. University of California, all new construction is going to be all electric. That's leading the way, for all the UCs. Carlsbad in San Diego County, heart of the gas industry. They basically just passed a REACH code that says no new gas water heaters. All new water heaters have to be either heat pump water heater or solar thermal. Or solar thermal. I'm a little concerned that might be like gas backup to that solar thermal, but still it's a step. Berkeley is considering phasing out gas in all new construction. So this isn't a REACH code, this is just an outright ordinance that's going to prevent new gas hookups for new construction. So that's happening now. It's Councilmember Kate Harrison. Anyone here live in Berkeley? Great, we should all talk because we need you to show up on July 16th at the City Council meeting. And Tom is doing awesome work leading that effort. And then dozens of cities across this state are looking at REACH codes. And we can talk about that. There's different types of REACH codes based on emissions or efficiency. And basically what they're doing is saying, if you want to build all electric, there's no new requirement. If you want to build a mixed fuel, you have to have more efficiency. You need to add more solar, you need to have storage. So it's a way to not mandate electrification, but strongly incentivize it. So it's really exciting to see that. And the important thing about this, we're not going to win this city by city, but this is going to provide a glide path for the CEC to take more bold action. So that's why, NRDC, the Building Decarb Coalition, CCAs have really, and Sierra Club have really been pushing this REACH code effort. My last slide is just sort of like, what can we all do? Act locally. If you live in Berkeley, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you don't live in Berkeley, but you can represent your institution, that'd be great. Emailing your city council members about a REACH code or gas ordinance. Leveraging your institutional power, so join the Building Decarb Coalition. Support electrification and regulatory proceedings if you comment there. And then just power of the pen, like the more letters to the editor you can write, or op-eds, blogs, research, tweeting, that's really helpful. The gas industry is forming this coalition group. They're getting really active. We need to be more vocal. So here's my contact information. Thank you.
For electrical utilities, what do you think are the best policies or questions asked regarding providing rates for customers, whether how they should divide it up between like fixed rates versus minimum rates versus variable rates for kilowatt hour usage? What's the best way to structure that so it works best for the community?
Yeah, that's a big question. I mean, from the Sierra Club's perspective, we're definitely really concerned about fixed charges and the impact that has on like disincentivizing solar and efficiency. In terms of electrification, what I think about is like, number one, it has to have a really large enough baseline, so you're not going to get bumped into higher, more costly tiers. So you can like successfully electrify your whole house without going into like tier 2, tier 3 if you're using your energy efficiently. So I think about the baseline issue, and then also time of use. So having some time of use rate that actually reflects the duck curve, right? Because our EV rates like don't really reflect the duck curve, right? So those are the two parts I think about, but I'm not fully answering your question. I have to talk to our attorneys.
Oh. That's the month that's matter quite a bit. People are talking about what's the best way to set the rates.
Yeah.
Big discussion.
Should we keep going, or what do you think?
Yeah, we got time. This room is kind of hard sonically in any case, but with this on top, is everybody boom it out pretty loud when you talk?
I also just want to say, like, there's so many experts in the room, so I don't need to field all the questions if anyone else wants to jump in.
Yeah.
Yep.
You mentioned the San Joaquin Valley electrification project. Are there any electrification retrofit or low-income pilots happening in the Bay Area right now that you're aware of?
Great. Yeah. In Marin, right? Marin Clean Energy has the LIFT program. I think that Association for Energy Affordability has been leading that effort. So that's multifamily low-income electrification. And in general, I'm a huge fan of the Association for Energy Affordability. If you reach out to them, they do a lot of multifamily retrofit work to become all electric, and also weatherization. So they have some great examples.
What's their name again?
The Association for Energy Affordability. Yeah.
Let's take one more and then we'll move on to the next one. Sir, go ahead.
Yeah, as you move forward the process of converting buildings to electrification away from natural gas, is the assumption that the utilities will continue to expand their natural gas generating capability? I mean, just as part of, moving the market for natural gas or the net use of natural gas, will that be changing? Where's the electricity going to come from?
Yeah. Well, given our RPS, it's going to have to start coming from more and more renewables, and also from rooftop solar. So we're definitely not trying to grow gas demand on the electric generation side at all. So that's also why like the time of use of this equipment is so important. So we can actually, use our heat pump water heaters or other equipment when there's solar or wind generation. So yeah, we need to make sure that this is not leading to more gas on the power plant side.
Yeah, I work for PG&E, not in policy, but not at all. It's just the opposite. It's we're trying to figure out how to get out of the gas business. In other words, you can talk about, you can see how this whole gas infrastructure is there and it has to be paid for. And as people electrify and they pull out, fewer people are paying for the same infrastructure to maintain it. So that's a big issue with the utilities, trying to how to figure out if people electrify and how to not make it unfair to the people who stay. But where there's no plans to make any more natural gas plants, all the new generations have come from energy efficiency or renewables.
No.
So can I just follow up on that with a question?
Yeah, one more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even though there's that dwindling ratepayer base for the gas infrastructure, you were also saying that as we curtail the gas system, that actually prevents and reduces the overall system-wide gas costs, right? Don't those balance itself?
Not sure of that. Again, I'm speaking beyond that, but there is something. I mean, both are true. I mean, you can see that there's fewer people paying for the same infrastructure. There's an issue.
Right.
As we begin to shut it down, maybe we can stop the maintenance on it, things like that. But or there may be some reduction in cost of maintenance. But still, if there's one person out at the air, and we have a legal obligation to provide this person with gas. We can't just cut them off. Then we got to maintain that entire line for 5 people or whatever it is. So, yeah, that's been a big problem in general.
Yeah, like a managed transition where we're like, this whole line is going down, it's gonna lower costs. But if just like, like one person in each line electrifies, then we're gonna see a lot, really high costs.
There's an obligation to serve customers that we just can't abandon. So, Rachel K will cover a lot of this stuff, and then we can have more questions when she's done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.